serve on the Board of Election Supervisors in West Baton Rouge. I'm the RPEC chairman there as well. It's the smallest parish, I believe, in the state, both in size and in personnel. And thank you, Ms. Campbell.
What's RPAC?
Republican Political Executive Committee. That's what an RPEC is. Anyway, West Baton Rouge didn't have one for quite some time, and we formed it up. So there's a few parishes out there that still don't, mostly those rural parishes, but places like Jefferson, man, y'all are thick into it, St. Tammany and East Baton Rouge, that kind of thing. So I'm here to bore you to tears. You can make, I don't know, I'm not sick, I'm fixing to sick. So I'm gonna try to follow my notes. First thing I want to do, William and Clay, thanks for having me and thanks for putting this together, and thank you big time to you both and Ms. Julie Sanford for allowing me to switch my schedule. I have to attend a wedding, so I'm going to be jetting right out of here to go to my nephew's wedding after this. A little bit of history of how I got involved in elections, for those of you who don't know. I served in Iraq and was there in 2005 when Iraq had their first election after 25 years of dictatorship. I didn't know anything about elections, but I was there with the Louisiana National Guard. There was about 3,500 of us, and we were doing security perimeter protection for the voting polling places. We weren't directly involved into the election, but just keeping people secure because they were trying to attack these places to prevent, talk about voter suppression, right? They were trying to suppress that vote big time. And still, I think the percentage of voters that were eligible to vote, it was about 8%. So they were excited about it. I see I'm boring you already there, Randy. Thank you.
Sleepy, Burt.
You can ask Jim over there. I call this show a lot in Lafayette, and we have a good time talking all the time. We make light of this stuff because sometimes it kind of makes me sick to the stomach. But anyway, I really didn't know anything about elections. Then they had these voter commission meetings at the Capitol, and all that COVID stuff was going on, and I kind of caught online that they were having a rally at the Capitol. I met Miss Susie LaBrie, Sunshine. Everybody knows her, and one thing led to another, and I met Katie and Christy, Katie Alexander and Christy Height. Next thing you know, I'm going to those things at the Capitol, and then I see people showing up, and I just remember the oath that I gave when I went to serve, and I did it twice. Served in the Navy in the 80s, and after 9/11, went into the Guard for Homeland Security stuff, but then we got shipped over. So I was 40 years old in the combat zone. Anyway,
Thank you. Yeah.
had fun, man. Had fun. Oh, actually, some of us didn't come back, but anyway, I went to those meetings and I was listening to both. I was listening to everything. And that was my introduction because all I did was vote. And I knew my dad had served as a commissioner when I was a young boy. I remember the lines. I remember how everybody got together at polling places. You know, that was a place an opportunity to see each other again. And you know, how's your mama? You know, how's your mama and them, right? Louisiana. Anyway, and hanging out, playing sideline football games while my parents were waiting to vote, my grandparents, whatever. My dad was working. He told me about how those machines work, and I could see where we still say election machine because they were mechanical back then. You didn't even have to plug them in. And he would open up the back, and you could see the totals for each candidate had a number, and each one was a tally number, right? So we still use the term machines, even though I call them EDs, or EDCDs, electronic data collection devices. So they're not mechanical anymore. I mean, I know the difference. I work on cars a lot too, and I'm kind of ventured into working on these cars that do have computers and stuff like that. And I can tell you, I rather the old stuff because all I needed was a screwdriver and a wrench to tune them. But today, to tune them, you have to have a keyboard. So, anyway, that's kind of how. And then further on to get involved, I got a phone call. Randy gave me the phone number. You go check out this guy in West Baton Rouge and try to contact me. Next thing you know, that contact, he and I ended up forming a RPEC in West Baton Rouge, and then he said, "How would you like to be on serve on the Board of Election Supervisors?" And I said, "What is that?" "Yeah, sure." I didn't even know. But I crash coursed myself with this book right here. If you're into elections at all, this election code book, you can get it at Secretary of State's office, $20. I think Jim ordered one and then had it shipped to him. I think it was all about $35 or something like that to get it. But all of the statutes are in there. Educate yourself. My big message I hope to convey to you today is show up. Show up. And I get asked a lot, well, what do I need to know? Well, at least start showing up, and you learn the game as you go, or you can pick up this book and start looking at the table of contents and reading into it, because you're going to read it, and then when you actually see it, you're going to start to have questions. And then you're going to get some answers. And then you probably end up with even more questions once you get those answers. Because, yes, it's kind of dry. I think it's the best sleeping pill I ever bought. Because when I read it, I do fall asleep. But for the quick, learning, to get into the learning curve a little faster, and you can get these off the Secretary of State's website, and that's these publications. Nothing to put the mic down. So, one is Parish Board of Election Supervisors Training. This is what I have to have. They issue this to me, but you can get it online. And if you notice it says approved by Louisiana Attorney General. And it gives you basically a lot of, I don't want to call them flashcards, but right there, and it's quick. You don't have to sit there and read that election code, but it references the statutes so that you can go straight to those statutes. They even have on the Secretary of State's website the election expense manual. You can get that. I think John Odell, I hope you find that too, right? Then there's the Board of Election Supervisors Handbook. Again, that'll send you straight to the state. They reference all the statutes inside of this. It gives you the gist of what we do. So, the gist of what we do. It's right here. We just had our first meeting for this upcoming election yesterday. And because you'll see one of these statutes in here, it says all business shall be conducted with a quorum. So I'm one of 320 Board of Election Supervisors members. There's 5 in each parish, and the last time I checked my Walmart calculator, 5 times 64 is 320. Imagine that. Did the math right on a little calculator for Walmart. Didn't need this complicated election machine. I guess I can tell where I'm standing and that stuff. Anyway, I forgot to bring this, but my wife, she texted it to me. And it's going to work. It's kind of a guideline, and that is our schedule. First meeting we had was yesterday. All business shall be conducted with a quorum, right? So yesterday's meeting, seal absentee machines in the register of voters office, and the start time was at 9 a.m. Of course, but we changed it to 2. Seal. All we did was put a seal on it. Big thing that's going, I forgot to tell y'all, these meetings are open public meetings. How do you get the schedule? It's supposed to be in your journal. What is your journal? That's basically your main newspaper. There's a listing of all the journals in one of these manuals. I think it's in the expense publication. So it's supposed to be posted in the newspaper. I've never seen it in my newspaper. And as a matter of fact, the only place I've ever seen it posted was on the door of my clerk of court's office. I get it because I'm a board member. And I talking about individually, I text it out to individuals and stuff. The only way that you'd be able to know what actually is going on is, like I said, by showing up. And I'm going to get into how I tried to deal with that and got shot down. But I always say this too: pay attention to what you don't see. Because, yeah, we sealed machines, but the day prior, the machines were loaded with the cartridges and the whatnots. In my mind, when I hear the phrase, all business shall be conducted publicly and with a quorum, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. I mean, I didn't even know you had that meeting. It's not a scheduled meeting. And they loaded the machines. They might call that programming. I don't call it programming. I call it loading it. Program's already written. So all we did was basically put the seals on it. I mean, I don't even know who was present when they were loading it. I didn't even get to see who that was. Go ahead real quick.
When you say a quorum must be present, that's a quorum for your 320.
Everyone, every
A
parish.
quorum for every parish is supposed to be present in Baton Rouge?
A quorum meaning at least 3 of us. There's 5. Just so you know, the members of the board or the register of voters, the clerk of court.
Okay, so
There's a governor's representative, there's a Democrat representative, and there's a Republican representative. And that's 5.
and that's for the parish?
Each parish has one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
did you have a quorum?
We had a quorum when we sealed the machines.
Right.
We didn't have a quorum. There was no, I don't know who was present when they were loaded. That goes for the day of election machines too. I'm just laying out the facts of what I've experienced in this stuff. I don't know, blame, but I'm just...
So if somebody wanted to take issue with that, they might argue that the loading was invalidly performed because...
I already took issue with that. I made a phone call to the Secretary of State's office expressing my thoughts on the matter and stuff like that. And the way they appeased it is they broke all the seals and so that we could observe them resealing. She said, if you want, we could unload the machines and reload it right back.
Okay, but that...
I was like, I don't know, it's already been done.
Right, it's
It's
the same stuff. But that is effectively a concession to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, you demonstrated that what they did was improper, so they had to do it again.
I'm just laying, like I said, I'm letting y'all know because in my parish, I don't know how it is in other parishes.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's
No
fine.
one's there. No one's there. It's just us. The first time, so part of the history, I'm going to take it back real quick. The first time I went to a board meeting and even that's when I really found out what the board does, is when I did a one-man protest in front of the Secretary of State's office with a poster, an American flag, and my combat top on, and my poster said, "Who counts my vote?" It drove up, a technician drove up, who I got to know. Come to find out, it's my register of voters dad. And he said, "I count your vote." And so I asked him, I said, "Really?" I said, "You write the source code? You write the program?" He said, "No, but I program the machines." I said, "So are you writing the program? I mean, if you program..." So he kind of had a light conversation about it. I said, "So basically what you're doing is you're loading those machines, correct?" He says, "Look, buddy, let me tell you." He said, "Why don't we have an election down in New Orleans? Why don't you come down and you can see how this all happens before you run them out?" And I said, hey, fine, I'll take you up on that. What's your phone number? And, I mean, the way it said it just kind of rolled off my, my oiled feathers like a dove. But I went. There was nobody there. I was the only one from the public. One lady showed up, and she was a candidate's representative. One lady, for a little while. And then they had her sitting off 30 feet. Can't really observe. I don't know where they call this a public meeting, but I guess the public's present. Of course, I guess they got to worry about law officers because you are sequestered. You have to give up this. That's fine. I like giving this up every now and then. Got to bring you a little bit of something to eat because once you get there, you won't be able to leave, and that's on election day. That is a scheduled meeting on election day. This is where you can observe the how they handle the absentee ballots. And a lot of the prep work is done the day before. So then they actually run through the tabulator on election day, plus collect all the data from early voting machines on election day. Then there's 2 meetings afterwards. And one of them is to go to the warehouse and basically, I don't know what you call it, certify the election day data collection devices thing. And then the final meeting is to sign off on all of the consolidated information that was reported to the Secretary of State's office. So, yeah. So I went, like I said, I go to the Capitol a lot. I'm going to get with you in a second. I go to the Capitol quite a bit, and I observe. Sometimes I testify, most hearing, listening to things, especially the things that interest me, especially when it comes to elections and that kind of thing. I'm as active as I can be. I ask a lot of questions to my registered voters. I saw the commissioner of elections in the hallway, and I was fired up about this idea. Because there's a lot of people that say they want to attend these meetings, but they're having difficulty doing it because of soccer moms, baseball, school stuff, work, those kinds of things. If they could just view it online afterwards and stuff, that's public availability. And the legislature, they're all on video, and it's recorded. City councils, school boards. I figured, why not the Board of Election Supervisors? I brought that to their attention. I said, there's 3 things we could do. We would have voter education. Most people don't even know there's a Board of Election Supervisors. We have voter education. We would have transparency of our elections. Everybody can see what's going on. And for me, accountability of the board. Right? And I'm on board. I would love it. I would absorb it like a dry sponge. I passed a lot of speed limit signs coming up here. Most people in Louisiana think speed limit signs is a suggestion. Until it's called. Right? So a lot of these statutes, to me, it seems like they're just suggestions. And that's the law. And probably somebody else, I'm sure Randy's going to get into this, but I know y'all want to go ahead and say it, and that way it can be said again and again and again and again until it finally sticks. Our Constitution, all ballots shall be counted publicly. And my question to the board one day is, where's the ballots? It's a Burt, 24 years of me being clerk of court, I've never had that question come my way. Nobody's ever asked that. I said, what am I signing off on? I'm signing off on the totals. Hey, where's the voter intent? Oh, we got them in the absentee ballot. Oh, what about the majority of the election that just passed? I'm telling y'all, I would love for y'all to be at my board meetings. I and I would love the support if you believe in what I'm talking about. But I'm there by myself. I voted all the time. I've called the Attorney General's office. Hey, what about on this certain thing happened or whatever? I said, well, number one, I can't represent you individually or answer you individually, but in a nutshell, I can answer you like this. The board can do what it wants. And that was before Cattle Parish happened. Because I brought that scenario up before Cattle Parish happened, and I don't know if y'all know about Cattle, but there was a very close sheriff's race there, and it came down to those absentee ballots, and that was the only reason why, is because that was the actual proof, right? So we get close, huh? Let's see if sneaking in on that. You're fixing to break that hook out. Anyway, sure enough, we had the same kind of situation where a lot of information was not. Y'all, the Secretary of State said that if we have video records of those board meetings, then nefarious people will be able to get that information, possibly. Because Social Security numbers are mentioned and passcodes are discussed. And I'm here to tell you, I know there's technicians and I know they're fooling with passcodes, but that's none of my business, that's his. Those are not discussed amongst the board members. No need to. That's a text job. And the second thing is, as far as Social Security numbers, this is a sample of an absentee ballot. Nowhere on there does it require a Social Security number. So I've never seen a Social Security number come across my table. I don't know where that came from. But what I'm talking about is having a fixed lens in the room with an audio recording to record the ambient audio. I'm not talking about zooming in on anything. I never got that opportunity to discuss those details. And the next thing you know, this comes along, and it's House Bill 962, which produced Act 754. And it's a lightweight bill, no big deal, and it went through the House committee. But by the time it hit the floor, and 3 days after my discussion in the Capitol, in the hallway, a prohibition came on the board meeting of video recordings, video and audio recordings. And, it doesn't say board meeting in here. No, it doesn't. But it describes the processing procedure. So they did a play on words. The preparation, verification, counting, and tabulation of the absentee by mail and early voting ballots shall not be video, audio, or tape recorded, filmed, or broadcast live.
Well, isn't it supposed to be counted publicly?
That is the procedure of the board meeting on election day. So they just listed by procedure. I don't know how that got there like that, but in the SGA, which is the Senate Government Affairs, supposedly I had video recordings removed from the prohibition, that they would be able to eventually record it and then put it on the website of the Secretary of State. But as we can read it in this Act 754, it's still prohibited. Y'all, this is why the public needs to show up and actually get boots on the ground. We can't record them. The only way these meetings are public is if the public shows up. So some of this responsibility is on us, on y'all. And
Isn't that the same count that we're supposed to be publicly counted? All ballots are supposed to be publicly counted? Isn't that the same event? The Constitution says all ballots shall be publicly counted.
yes,
But this meeting, which is the Board of Electors, or what?
election supervisor.
Election Supervisors, which is looking at counting the absentee ballots, is
That's
done
the
without.
only ballots we can actually see, because that's the only ballot that is produced out of our election
That's the
system.
only ballot that exists. That's done with a prohibition against filming.
Well, I just wanted a video recording.
I'm just making sure I understand that it's the
Yeah,
same thing.
the prohibition is the video recording. I just wanted a video recording so that people can, from at home, on the day after or something, and that there's also a video record of what transpired at that board meeting. Because of the incident that happened in Caddo, the board let through a lot of affidavits that were missing information that had they been rejected like they should have by statute, had there been a cop out there with a radar gun, catching them while they were speeding, they would have probably, or had they known it was a cop, let's say, a little rare, they would have slowed down and maybe followed the statute. When you know you're being video recorded, you probably have a different mindset. Same thing if the public shows up, people act a little bit different. But if nobody shows up, hey, board can do what they want. It's all about vote, right? Yes, sir. I got a few minutes.
Did that election flip up in Caddo? Did the election of the sheriff change after they redid the vote?
Well, the judge ordered a revote of the entire parish. And it turned out where, like, the guy lost by one. Okay, he lost by one. Well, they ended up losing by a lot later. It really caused a stir that I think shouldn't have happened. Plus, there was a lot of money spent. Look, I ran for RSCC. I lost by 4 votes. Come to find out, 2 machines were moved in the precincts. They weren't in the correct precincts. And then we also had, we found, through this little investigation, we discovered that Democrats voted on the Republican primary. Y'all would never know this kind of stuff unless you show up. You're not going to find it in the news. So, y'all think about showing up. Get your schedule from the clerk of court. Your registered voters should also have it. Get to know these folks. Don't go after them. I'm not trying to headhunt them. I don't want to be headhunted. But I'll tell you, if you did show up at my board meeting, I'll listen to you. Because believe me, I want your support. I do. Yes, sir, real quick.
Last question. So for the presidential election coming up, instead of using the electronic machine, can we demand a written ballot?
You didn't hear this from me. You want a written ballot? You'd want to vote absentee. How you go about doing that, I'm not going to advise you one way or the other. There's certain restrictions on that kind of thing, but I don't know, plan a trip on election day. Get your absentee ballot. Now, when you and then you could show up afterwards, say, hey, I decided to come home early and show up at the board meeting, right? I don't want to see you count my ballot. I don't know. You didn't hear that from me. But anyway, on that day, on election day, when you go to get sequestered, some parishes, big parishes, might start at 9 o'clock in the morning. My little rural parish, we might start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You can show up whenever you want. But once you do, and you give up your phone, you can't leave until 8 o'clock or until they're finished with the count. Just so you know. That's why I say bring a little snack, bring you some water, bring a little cooler or something like that. But take care of yourself while you're there. It's just a day in the life.
What's the hazard with letting people leave? What is the risk?
So sequestration, that's one thing they do adhere to in the statute, is sequestration. You're sequestered. They don't want, you can't have your phone, they don't want information going out ahead of time and that kind of thing. It's a security type thing. But I question that even sometimes too. Anyway, I really appreciate y'all's time. I hope I didn't bore you up to death, and thank you, Lee.
Burt Callais, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So before I bring our next guest